Fear fades and regret remains. Negative and positive, more is better in terms of life and experiences. When you come from a place of desperation, you will only get the things that you do not need. The best growing that you're ever going to do is by yourself. When you have the time and the clarity to make thoughtful decisions, you're going to make the right decisions. Responding in an emotional way is going to make the situation worse and is going to make your opinion less heard. The most important reason to show strong reactions is to show the importance of that situation. When you feel pain, ask for more pain. Mind only really can produce those hormones for like a minute and 30 seconds. The ability to let an emotion be an emotion and be only an emotion. I don't know which number this is. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Hello, editing room here. Forgot some stuff. So life lesson number 5 that I missed is communication is key. What I've learned is you need to communicate as often and as detailed as possible. And this goes for friendships, partnerships, teacher-student relationships, different forms of friendship. It goes for coworkers. It goes for everything. What I've noticed with my personal self, if I don't say something immediately, it becomes very, very hard to say. The longer you go without saying it, the more that those feelings are going to fester and going to become negative, and eventually you're going to just explode at this person. A perfect example that I remember is that with my first boyfriend, I remember that we went on a trip together and I was carrying a bunch of bags and he just brought like one backpack. And we were getting off of this ferry. I was just so upset. I was being like, why isn't he helping me? Why isn't he offering to help? Instead of just like asking for help, I let that fester. And then all of a sudden I just got really mad and I was like, can you help me? And he looked back, he went, oh, yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't notice. He took the bags and it was just instantly resolved. I was very scared of fighting with him. I was very scared of getting into an argument and creating a situation where I would lose him because of it. It made it very difficult to communicate things right away. But to be honest with you, any relationship that can be lost from just one argument isn't a relationship worth having. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Not to argue excessively, not to argue unreasonably, but to be able to voice your opinions and to share them and communicate with your partner is so essential. Whether this is a personal problem or a relationship problem, either way, it's really important to work on that, because sometimes you're just a person that has a really hard time communicating, and that's something that you need to intrinsically work on. And maybe it's the situation, the relationship that you're in. Maybe you had other partners that you felt more comfortable communicating with, but this partner, it shuts you down, etc. You need to communicate about that. You know, communicating about communicating is also a form of communication. Being like, hey, I feel like I can't communicate with you because every time I bring up a problem, you seem to shut it down or blame me or create a fight, and I don't think that this is very healthy. So I would like to work on how we communicate. Otherwise, this relationship is never going to work, and I don't really want to waste my time trying to work on a relationship that you're not meeting me halfway for. That's very aggressive. Obviously, like if you have 10 years, like a marriage and like 3 kids, maybe just don't like up and go. You have to remember is that nobody knows what you're thinking. Like I see so many women and men and just people, but for the most part, because I'm a woman and I have female friends, like I see so many of my friends being like, my boyfriend didn't make me breakfast today, or my boyfriend didn't open the car door for me, or my boyfriend didn't grab my purse for me. And as nice as it is when your boyfriend does that, or girlfriend, or whoever, you know, I'm just a woman. It's so nice when that person does that, when they have that gentlemanly nature, be it male or female, doesn't matter. I'm getting too inclusive. I need to just get to the point. Okay. It's so, you know, gentlemanly to have that forethought to do things for you, to do those acts of service, or to compliment you, or whatever, you know, love language that you need. But the thing is that as nice as it is to get those unsolicited, if they don't naturally have that inclination, you have to ask. And then from that point on, they can learn that, oh, you really like that. And then they can do those things for you. Don't give up because they don't naturally have those love languages. you have to communicate because it can save everything. Say I'm mowing the lawn and my boyfriend is sitting there reading a book and I go, I wish that he would just take like half the lawn. He would mow the lawn for me. Here are the two examples. Is that you finished mowing the lawn and then you're all angry because he didn't offer to mow the lawn. In his head, he's thinking, I just read a nice book. My girlfriend mowed the lawn. It's a great day. Versus if you mowed half the lawn, you go, like, hey babe, whatever you call them, hey cutie, hey schmuckums, I just finished mowing half the lawn. I'm really tired. Would you help me out and mow the second half of the lawn? And then if they say no, then you are like, okay, well, I don't know where you go from there. That's like, I guess the worst that can happen. They start a fight, they say no, and then you have to like look at their character and be like, all right, is this really somebody I want to be with? Somebody who's not gonna like meet me 50-50? But most of the time, if you're asking for help, a partner's gonna be like, hell yeah, I'll help you. And then all that anger, all that, it just dissipates, it goes away. It's so healthy, it's so beautiful. The other form of communication, not just between you and your partner, is the form of communication to express yourself because of an internal struggle. My mother says something that's very intelligent, very beautiful. My mother is a very intelligent, very beautiful woman. And she says, bring light to dark. Just the same way as feelings can fester with like your partner or your friend or whoever, they can fester within yourself. And I've had a few traumatic events in my life. If I held that within myself, it would boil. It would just turn into this like monster. I had things that did that, and it really just drove me down a rabbit hole. One of the biggest things I had that with was my eating disorder. I was having these inclinations and I didn't voice them openly. I had all these thoughts and feelings and plans, and I never talked about them, because if I ever talked about them, people would be like, hey, that's not really healthy, you should probably not do that. And then I probably wouldn't have done it. Would have been like, oh, okay, like you're right. Or maybe I would have done it anyway, but I would have had the wherewithal that what I was doing wasn't healthy, and I wouldn't have had this justification that what I was doing was actually good. If you are having an issue, if you are having a struggle, if anything is happening in your life that you need to talk out, just talk about it. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if it's small or large. You need to have a community of people, be it parents, be it siblings, be it friends, be it strangers, be it hiring a therapist and having somebody that you can talk to without burdening your friends and your loved ones, you know? And that is what therapy is for, is to bring light to dark without burdening the people in your life. I have friends who don't mind being burdened, who are like, yes, Maya, you need me, talk to me, I love you. And that's totally fine, but if I went to them for every single little issue, I would just be like talking their heads off. And I don't want to be the worrywart that just talks about my issues and my problems. I want to talk about good, constructive things in my life as well. I leave like 80% of that to my therapist and 20% to close friends to get their opinions on, because I love my close friends. I understand it can be really difficult to trust others with knowledge about yourself, and some people are an open book. I personally have never had an issue with this. I am a completely open book to strangers, to friends, to everybody. I think it opens up people around me, and I love that, but to me, it's just something that comes really, really naturally. I don't feel like when I'm having this intimate conversation and talking about all the dark depths of my soul, I don't feel like I'm revealing something. I feel like I'm just expressing something that's been revealed. It's just a part of me. And that is not the case for everybody. Some people are partially open. They allow certain bits of information to other people, and then other parts they don't, or like if you ask about it, they will tell you, but they won't bring it up. And then some people are completely closed. Like they don't want to talk about their emotions. They don't want to talk about any part of their past, their family, anything like that. And whoever you are, it doesn't really matter, because it is essential to communicate, not for any other opinion, not for any societal value. It's for your mental health. You need to communicate, and it doesn't matter who you communicate to, but you need to open up the book to somebody, because your mental health will tank. You will fester things and turn molehills into mountains. And quite frankly, the one piece of advice that I can give that may help you to open up your heart, and it has to do with everything else I've said in this video, is that the worst that can happen to you is you get hurt. That is the worst that can happen to you. I wouldn't go around saying things that are going to like make you lose your job or incriminate you and stuff like that. I wouldn't like tell strangers that kind of stuff. I mean, a therapist is the best way to talk about stuff that's not good about your past that you don't want just spreading willy-nilly, because your therapist is legally obligated not to tell anybody. So if they spread anything, you can just like sue them. In terms of just like, hey, I'm not feeling good right now. I'm feeling depressed. I'm feeling like my life is falling apart. I'm feeling like I don't know if I like my job. You know, those kinds of thoughts that you think about and then they fester and you don't do anything about them and then they just become worse and your mental health tanks. Those kinds of things. The worst that can happen is you get hurt. Really, really. The worst that can happen is you get hurt. Pain isn't that bad. Pain is an emotion, pain is a feeling, pain is a chemical reaction, you know. I've been hurt by friends. I have been hurt by friends, and you know, I think about it and I don't feel hurt and I can barely even remember them. It did more good to me than it did bad. That pain is so outweighed by the benefit of talking and communicating. The benefits of talking and communicating will always outweigh, unless you're saying something that's incriminating or something like that, the negatives if that person turns their back on you. If they're like, hey, you're being annoying, hey, you need to stop. Heed their advice. They're communicating with you. Listen to them. You know, if they make fun of you, anything, it's just, who cares? It's just words. You know, it's just words. And that sounds so simple coming from a person on the internet. If somebody told me this when I was like 16, honestly, I wouldn't have believed them. But now being 25, I truly know and understand my heart is not fragile. My heart is so fragile, yet it's not fragile at all. I had this thought the other day while I was in the shower at the gym, that true strength is to love without fear of failure and to fail without loss of love. It just hits like so accurately. I hope I said that right. What I mean by that is that true strength is to love and not be afraid of losing, to communicate and not be afraid of failing, to loss, hurting others, the side effects of communication. True strength is to communicate despite that. If you do lose a friend, if somebody makes fun of you, if somebody tells other people, whatever can happen, it's to not lose that love and that ability to communicate. I mean, think of it like this. True strength is to love without fear of getting heartbroken. And when you get heartbroken, to be able to love again. And it comes with communication as well. And that is a really, really beautiful way to, I think, open your heart. To sum this all up, with communication, just think of it this way. Safety is in numbers. Sharing and imparting parts of yourself and communicating your needs, your wants, your desires, and communicating your struggles and communicating specific instances with a person. Safety is in numbers. Everything that you keep in yourself can fester and can become something unhealthy, and your mental health is safer in numbers, physical health, your everything, you know, like it's just, everything is better. Safety is in numbers. That's it. I'm just going to leave it there. So life lesson number 6 is that there is always a way to make something fun. So I have ADHD. It can be very difficult to do average day-to-day tasks because my body doesn't really release dopamine the way other people's brains do. I don't finish something and my body's like, ooh, you get a little reward. I finish something and I'm like, wow, I hated that and I don't like it. Something changed in me in college, and I watched a YouTube video called I Increased My Productivity 10 Times by Turning My Life into a Video Game. Or into a game. And that's by a YouTube channel called Better Than Yesterday. You can check it out. There's a lot of things in that video, but what it did was it validated a thought I had been having for a while, that the best way to be productive is to have fun. I truly and genuinely believe that there is always a way to make things fun. So a perfect example is that I really, really did not enjoy writing essays in college. And I was an English major, so I had to write a lot of essays. And then one day I was like, you know what? I'm hating this, and I have to figure out a way for this to be fun because I just procrastinate. I'm not getting good grades. Like, I'm just not doing well. And so what I did was I looked inside myself and I was like, okay, what do I like about writing essays? And I was like, wow, I really like just free writing and just getting my ideas down on paper and just writing random nonsense and just kind of going, or even talking into like a voice memo or something like that. And then I also really enjoy like organizing, putting different ideas together and kind of editing it and make it coherent. My entire life I was taught to just kind of write it paragraph by paragraph by paragraph and just kind of go in order. And I realized, I was like, why don't I just, brain dump and then edit it? And so I started writing essays like that. I would do these huge brain dumps that really just got all of my ideas out. And then I would edit it to make it coherent. And as I was editing it in, I would put in my quotations, my everything. And my grades improved substantially. I had so much fun while writing essays. I was more passionate. I was more educated on it. It was just so wonderful. And so in terms of life, there's always a way to make things fun. People can argue and come up with ideas that maybe there are things that you really can't make fun and you just have to deal with it. And that might be true, but to be honest, for the most part, there really is a way to make everything fun. Some ways that I personally make things fun is I really like to set timers, and I like to race myself or race somebody else, or make check boxes off, make lists and try and like check off as many things as I can do, set up my phone and listen to a podcast or watch a TV show. So I personally used to really not like driving places, but now I always put on my podcasts. I'm always listening to something, and I'm like, wow, I love driving because it's just time that I get to like listen to my podcast. I don't like washing the dishes, but I turn on my TV show, or I try and like set a timer and try and race to finish the dishes as fast as I can do it. I hate getting ready for bed and doing a shower, but I'll get this like competitive thing in me and I'll be like, oh, I'm gonna like race myself and try and beat my timer. It makes it really fun and it makes you really productive. It depends on what you're struggling with, of course. If you're organizing your room and you go, oh, I can't think of a way that this could possibly be fun, I truly believe there's always a way. Like, I personally, when I have to clean my room, I like to do it in sections. So I like to really make sure like one section is really clean and then another section is really clean. And then, if I'm folding clothes, I put on my podcast or my video and I fold my clothes. If I'm sweeping and whatever, I try and like find it really satisfying. You just have to kind of trick yourself into having a really good time with things, because I truly believe that enjoyment is the key to life. Enjoyment is the spawn of productivity. I truly believe that all productivity comes from enjoyment, because if you don't enjoy something, there's no reason to do it, So the things you have to do, you can make them enjoyable. The things that you find enjoyable, freaking do them. My best friend was saying, there are no hobbies. Because you feel a love for something, you go all in, experience it, do it, love it. Okay. So my last one, number 7, is kind of complicated, and I think it's very beautiful and I love it and it's very important to me. In my opinion, is the most complicated one to learn and figure out, but it's so extremely important. There is a difference between allowing something and forcing something. There are things in your life that require work. You have relationships that you have to maintain, a job and you want a promotion, start up a YouTube channel. It requires you to make videos and do the legwork. There is legwork in your life that you will have to do. And there are also situations that when you force your hand at something, it will make it worse. This is like the prime example of this. Let's make this really specific. So say you met this girl or guy at a bar, you got their number, they're really cute, you're really interested in them, and you're like, okay, do I put in more work or do I put in less work? And what is going to be the best here? And so that's really complicated, because sometimes you need to try and keep up the conversation and try and help organize the dates. But the thing is that has to be reciprocated. And if you are putting in energy and the other person is giving you an equal amount of energy, that's only going to be positive. But if you are putting too much energy in and the other person isn't, that's going to be detrimental. You're going to be overwhelming them. You're going to be pushing them away. In terms of your career, right? Say you are just over enthusiastic and you're just kind of annoying your boss and, doing too much and overdoing it. Your boss is going to be like, oh man, I don't want to give him a promotion because he's just going to be annoying about it, or, something like that. I can't even think of an example that working hard in a job wouldn't be beneficial. If you're going to think of it in a spiritual way, which you are totally allowed to do, you're totally allowed to not do. Say you have your fate, right? You want to put the effort in to continue on your fate, but if you put too much effort in, it's going to change your fate. It's going to change what you were meant to do. I personally consider myself kind of agnostic, kind of atheistic, around the lines of that. So I like the philosophies of spirituality, but then again, I'm a very factual, science-based person. When you come to relationships and events in your life, you want to make sure that you're doing the legwork necessary, but you're not doing so much that you're going to ruin things that you already have. I hope that made sense. It's very, very complicated, and it's absolutely a balance. It takes a long time to learn, and quite frankly, I don't even think that I'm there. A really big example of this is that you're out with your friends, and how much do you talk? Be yourself, of course. I'm always myself, but you talk too much, you're annoying. You talk too little, you're boring. There's this balance that I still don't always know the answer to. I really don't. It's very, very hard to learn, but be aware of your surroundings, the actions of other people, the responses from people, and also, try different things and learn from those experiences. Say you meet somebody and they are like, hey, this is just too much for me. I can't do it. They start ghosting you because you're texting too much. Be like, okay, that was too much. That was too much. Next time, let me try and be a little bit less. Also, there are different people in different places, in different jobs. What you could do with one person is going to maybe not work, and for somebody else, it could absolutely be the perfect thing. It's very difficult to gauge the boundaries, but just know doing the work is different from forcing it to work. And that's a really important distinction that I feel like people don't talk about, people don't know, and people don't pay attention to. And it's hard to learn, but the day to start paying attention to it is today. Learn from your mistakes, because every mistake that you've made that you didn't learn from is a wasted mistake, in my opinion. So start making the good mistakes today. And even writing down the shit that you learn, I shouldn't swear, writing down the stuff that you learn and just becoming a better person. So I hope this was somewhat helpful. The light is kind of funky right now because I've got a lake that's shining on me. It's very bright. I hope that this was interesting, fun, helpful. If you want a part 2, leave a comment down below. Give me a thumbs up. Do the subscribe thing. All right. Bye. Hello, it's Maya from the operating room. No. Okay, cut that out. Yeah.
There's so many ways that you could get me wet, but if that's the way that you chose, I'm in love with you.
Urine's the way to her heart.